Welcome to East Alabama Today, featuring topics, events, and interesting people from all over East Alabama. Hosted by Carl Brady. Now, let's get right to the show. Here's Carl Brady.
Welcome in to a special edition of East Alabama Today. I'm Carl Brady, and today the show is coming to you from the Oxford Performing Arts Center in Oxford, Alabama. And today's special guest is a musician who grew up in East Alabama and is now one of the most popular session players in Nashville and one of the most popular gospel musicians in all the world. His name is Gordon Mote, and we'll be back with East Alabama Today in just a moment. Welcome into East Alabama Today. Again, I'm Carl Brady, and as you can see, we're not in the studio. We are on location at the Oxford Performing Arts Center, the brand new Oxford Performing Arts Center in downtown Oxford, Alabama. A beautiful venue that you're going to be learning more about on TV 24 because we got a lot of stuff going on with these guys. But today, I wanted to do something special. I haven't been as excited about a show in a long time because I got my buddy Gordon Mote here with me. Gordon, we've been trying for 4 years to put this together. I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us before your show today.
Well, if you weren't so busy, Carl, we could have done this a long time ago.
Well, speaking of busy, man, you guys are doing some crazy stuff. You are playing all the time, got something going on, and it's a big old world for you out there.
Well, when you have 3 kids in private school and you got one about to go to college, you better be working.
We're not that old, are we?
I am that old, dude. I am that old. But fortunately, there is a lot going on, and God's been really good to us. We still live in Nashville, and during the week I'm in the studios, and on the weekends I'm traveling and doing this thing right here, like we're doing now, and trying to reach as many people we can as we can with the gospel, and just having a great time.
That's awesome. What I want to do today, Gordon, is go back in time about 30 years, reminisce a little bit, see if we can remember a few old things, talk about the present, we'll talk about the future, we'll just kind of cover everything. So
I can't remember yesterday.
Well, let's go back about 30 years to Emma Sansom High School. That's where you and I first met.
That's right.
At Emma Sansom High School. You were playing piano for the Rebel Americans, and Paul Edmondson had talked me into reluctantly joining the Rebel Americans, and it's just going on ever since then.
Sure.
That was a long time ago, but we had some fun there, didn't we?
We sure did. Mr. Ed was really a mentor to me, probably one of the most influential, well, not probably, he was one of the most influential people in my life. And
I think everybody who had him in a class could probably say that.
No doubt.
Almost everybody could say that.
No
He
doubt.
was wonderful to all of us.
Absolutely. And there's so many things that he taught me, not just about music, but about life in general, that I have remembered and taken with me and tried to instill in my children. The cool thing, he was a teacher, and he would, he was serious, but you also knew that he loved you a lot, and that he didn't just care about the quality of his choral program. He cared about people and wanted them to have fulfilled lives and wanted them to be on the right path. And so, we can all kind of look at him as an example and try to be that way.
I feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
Even all these years later, seeing him out at football games and things like that, there's still that close personal connection that goes well beyond the educator-student experience.
Absolutely. And that's why, a guy like him is so successful with whatever it is he does. We at Emma Sansom had an incredible choral program, and a lot of musicians came out of that.
Yeah.
And it was something that we could all be proud of, and we can look back on it now and still be proud of it. And of course, the marching band was also awful good too. And when I was at Emma Sansom, it was Derry Pilkington who was there, and he taught me a lot about life too, a lot about being being competitive and not taking, don't take no for an answer. Taught us how to win, and when we lost, taught us how to get back up and try again. As so did Brother Ed. But in all fairness, in the choral program, we didn't lose.
That's true.
We had to build the band back.
Yeah, we had some successful times in the choral program. I do remember, I don't know if you'll remember this or not, he had challenged us. It was my senior year, so I think you were probably a sophomore.
Probably, freshman or sophomore, yeah.
And he had challenged us in our competition that we were going to, I believe at Samford, to get all ones in the competition, and we did. And the consequence of that was he had to shave his mustache off.
That's right.
Yeah, and Mark Witt and I shaved his mustache off in the middle of a class one day.
That's right. I forgot about that. Mark Witt. He was pretty fantastic too.
Absolutely.
Well, those are great times. I look back on them with a lot of pride and just a lot of fond memories. And what I hope for my children is what I think has happened is that they will look back on their high school years with the same kind of fond memories. We have a lot of wonderful teachers at Christ Presbyterian Academy in Nashville where they are in school, and Samantha loves our choral program at CPA, and Parker is our athlete. And my little first grader, Ashton, he just loves everything. I don't know what he's going to do, but he is just full of energy and life. And so what I experienced is what I hope my kids continue to experience too.
Yeah. Let's talk about that high school experience on a more personal level as well. With someone, I didn't realize this, but someone told me the other day that you were kind of groundbreaking. You were one of the first blind students to go into a normal public school setting.
Yeah.
And what was that like for you to go into that challenging kind of place like that?
Well, it was a little scary when coming from the Alabama Institute for the Blind, where people were low vision or blind, and then you go into a place where everyone can see. It was exciting, but it was tough because we didn't have many of our books in Braille. Some of them we had on cassette tape, but try finding page 237 on a cassette. That's not easy. But I don't know if at that time we knew we were breaking new ground. But looking back on it, there were days when I was scared, but the teachers made it as easy for us as they could, as far as just helping us have an equal chance to make good grades or bad grades. And I had to study. I really had to study a lot to make good grades. I wanted to make good grades, but it didn't come easy for me. I had to really study. But the high school experience was incredible because, again, all the teachers at Emma Sansom really cared about the students. I mean, they wanted you to get really good grades. They were proud of you when you did, and they felt like, I think, they had succeeded if you made really good grades, but they cared more about, are you learning something, and are you on the right track to being, someone who's productive. And so I am so grateful for that experience. I'm grateful that I was one of the first 7 in 1978. And C.C. Davis, who was a longtime superintendent of the Gadsden City Schools, he was instrumental in making that happen. And now, he's no longer with us, of course, but now people all over the country are doing that. And if they could only have known the great C.C. Davis, because he was truly a visionary, and it was pretty fantastic. And I don't think I would be where I am today had it not been for him and all of the great instruction that I had, no doubt.
Well, you fit in so well with the rest of us. So among our group of friends that would hang out, go to the mall, do things, it was... it got to the point where we didn't even realize that you were blind. It was no big deal. And
that's the greatest compliment in the world too, by the way.
And the only problem I think we had was, and I will apologize now for all the times I forgot to tell you to take a step up and you stumbled up the stairs. Because we would forget. It just was no big deal.
Well, a lot of times I would know because I would feel you going up or down, like with any sighted guide. So most of the time I knew, but now if I wasn't paying attention and had my mind on something else or talking to somebody.
Right.
It was kind of like I wasn't looking where I was going because I wasn't paying attention to, how, what I was getting from you or whoever I was walking with. But man, I was so blessed to have so many great, really good friends in school. Again, I love that my children are having those same experiences because what would school be without close friends?
Yeah, it would be an awfully lonely place to be.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, because teenage years are hard enough. I wrote a song about that on my new album. The new record's called All Things New, and I wrote a song called Broken Open, and it's really kind of a biographical song for me because I think all teenagers have a moment where they're like, who am I and what am I doing here? Trying to figure out who they are. And as someone who is blind and all his friends being sighted, everybody's getting cars. And I got a piano. Yeah. but everybody's getting cars and driving around. And sometimes you kind of do feel like the third or fourth wheel or the fifth wheel. But because everybody's going. And I think that if you don't have an experience, that was my experience of kind of being like, I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure that I like how this feels. I'm not sure what I should do or how I should feel. And there were those times, I'm not going to lie. But I think that because of those experiences, I have an easier time maybe than some understanding teenagers and maybe how they may feel lonely or I don't want to say forgotten. I'm sure some do. But I didn't feel forgotten, but I did feel lonely sometimes because I wasn't sure. Everybody said, "Yeah, man, we want you to hang out with us," but I wasn't sure for sure.
Right.
Because I didn't, I couldn't drive and I couldn't, I always had to hang on to somebody. But when your heart is broken, it's broken open. Yeah. Your heart is open to seeing how other people hurt, and I think it's easier for you to see someone else going through something similar to you if you've gone through it yourself. Right. And so, that's a powerful song. So many people can relate to that song.
You want to play a piece of it for us?
Let's see. I know how it feels to grow up lonely. And I know how it feels to need a friend. I've shut down, gave up, gave in, closed the door. Yeah, I've been there before, but when my heart was broken, I thought my life was useless, hopeless. But in my desperation, was a grand revelation. What I thought was the ending was just the beginning. Yeah, when my heart was broken, it was broken open, wide open. And the song goes on to talk about, there are other people that feel the same way, but just to stay with it, stay the course. And it talks about how the bridge, I think, is real important. In Sunday school, it confused me why that man was on the cross. How someone so mistreated could be the Savior of us all. And then it talks about how his heart was broken, and but how he lives, and how God used his son to die for us, and knew that was what was going to happen, and yet Jesus went through with it. And if he hadn't gone through the heartbreak, if he hadn't gone through the incredible pain, we'll never know, then we would not have hope. And so the song ends with a hopeful note, and but it's a very important song to me.
Gordon Mote is our special guest on East Alabama today as we bring you the show from the Oxford Performing Arts Center in Oxford, Alabama. Stay with us. We'll have more with Gordon in just a moment. Welcome back to East Alabama Today. I'm Carl Brady, and we welcome you in for a special edition of East Alabama Today, where my guest is Gordon Mote, and the show is coming to you from the Oxford Performing Arts Center. Now, back to the interview.
While the whole town's fast asleep, he's hard at work, pulling that midnight shift at the Maplewood Methodist Church.
Do you remember we were in your bedroom recording studio? We recorded a song that a friend of my grandmother's had written, and you did a soundtrack for me so I could perform it at church.
I had a little 4-track recorder, and I had so much fun with that. Man, I cut my teeth using that thing.
Yeah, we did all kinds of recording there. I thought we were going to start a band one time, too, and we played in your garage a few times. And the only song I remembered, I was thinking about this the other day, was New Orleans Ladies. We were trying to work that out.
That's awesome. Mike Bright
was part of that, yeah.
Mike Bright taught me, gave me, let me borrow his cassette, Louisiana's LaRue. Yeah. And I thought, well, if Big Mike likes this group, they must be pretty cool, so I need to like this group too. And I got turned on to them and loved it. And matter of fact, a couple years ago, somebody turned me on to where I could get it on CD.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't available for a long time. Wow. And so I met one of the guys that's in the band. He's like, yeah, man, we just got it remastered and it's on CD now. So I had to grab one, and I thought of Big Mike and all you guys because we used to ride around in the car listening to all that whole cassette was just awesome. Every song was great.
Yeah, absolutely. We're limited on time here, folks, because the doors are going to open to the concert venue here in a little bit. So let's skip ahead a little bit and talk a little bit about becoming the well-known musician you are. For going from Attala and Gadsden, Alabama, how did it's hard enough for anybody to break into the music business. How did you get that break? What was your break to becoming a studio musician and then playing with the Gaithers and all the other folks you've played with?
Well, it was just kind of a little by little. I had to pay my dues and work to it. When I was at Jacksonville State, I had someone knew a producer, Muscle Shoals producer by the name of Jimmy Johnson. Mm-hmm. And Jimmy Johnson produced some of the biggest songs of all time. He produced this record. It's like, So so I got a chance to meet with him and play him some of my songs. And I played him 3 or 4 songs, and he said, boy, you're in the wrong place. He said, you're a big fish in a small pond. You need to move to Nashville and let everybody kick your butt for a couple years, and then maybe you'll be better than them. And he was just real. He said, you need to go to Belmont, and I'm going to make some calls. And I said, well, it's too late to apply for next year. And he said, Mr. Malloy, who was the head of the music business department at Belmont, he said, Mr. Malloy owes me a big favor. So he made some calls, and the rest is history. I ended up at Belmont, where I met my lovely wife, finished at Belmont. I crammed 4 years into 5. And during the week of finals at Belmont, I got a call from one of the teachers there, and she said, what are your plans when you graduate? And I said, I don't have any. I'll just be glad to be out of school. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, Lee Greenwood is looking for a keyboard player. Well, of course I knew who Lee Greenwood was, So I said, well, how do I audition? She said, well, I don't know, but I maybe can find out because his wife is a friend of mine. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, one thing led to another. And I talked to his A&R guy, and he said, Lee is out of town, but when he comes back, I'll have him call you, and maybe we can set up an audition. Well, I had my senior recital, and I had a live band, and I had all this stuff. Well, nobody told me, but Lee Greenwood came back from his trip early, and he was in the audience.
Oh, wow.
Had I known that, I probably would have been a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
I didn't know it. So anyway, he comes up to me after the show, and he says, hi, I'm Lee Greenwood, with that raspy voice. And my heart just turned over. I was like, Mr. Greenwood, what a pleasure. And so anyway, we talked, and one thing led to another. I went to his house. I auditioned, and 2 days after graduating, I learned that I got the gig. And so I went on the road right right after college and did that for several years. And because he had a publishing company, he allowed me to do some demos, and that opened up some doors in the studios. And fast forward about 4 years, after having played on lots of demos and lots of custom sessions, independent sessions, I got a real big break. They called me because Pig Robbins, who is in the Country Music Hall of Fame, session piano player, and he's also blind. And he was sick, and he couldn't do the Alan Jackson album. He had played on all of them to that point. They asked him who they should get, and he put my name in. And he said, "This is this kid."
To be asked to fill in for one of the most well-known and respected musicians in Nashville,
and
that's
my
incredible.
Hero, and my hero. And so Pig said, "This kid, he's the future. You need to call him." And so they did, and the rest is history. That record sold 4 million copies. "Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning" was the first #1 song I ever played on. And after all that, I started getting a lot of calls. And then it was fortunate for me because some of the first really big hits I was on had piano intros. Stuff like, let's see. Rascal Flatts, all that early Rascal Flatts stuff I played on, and
that's awesome.
Just all kinds of stuff, and so that really opened the doors. And I've been fortunate to continue. The music business has fallen off a little bit in Nashville. We're not selling like we did, and a lot of people, it's doom and gloom, but people still love music. And I've still got a job. It may not be as much as it was before, but God is good. He's provided, and I'm grateful to be doing all that I'm doing. And I still get to work with some of the greatest musicians in the world during the week, and I get to travel and spread the good news of the gospel on the weekends. I have the most incredible family in the world. My wife and I, her name is Kimberly. We've been married 22 years. We have 3 children. I've mentioned them, but Ashton is 6, Parker's 14, and Samantha's 17. And man, I've got it pretty good. I'll be honest with you.
Well, speaking of pretty good, you've got Dove Awards, you've nominations, and I want to congratulate you. Just finding out you've got a song that's in the Grammy process. That's incredible,
it's
man.
The first time we've ever been in the Grammy Award process, and we will know very quickly if we're actually going to be nominated for the Grammy. It's an interesting process, and me never having done it, but you have to be nominated basically by your peers, as with most of the awards in the industry. And I've been very, very fortunate to have won several ACM awards for Piano Player of the Year, and somebody told me the other day that I'd been nominated 13 times. I didn't know I was that old.
Yeah, exactly.
Times.
Wow.
But the Dove Award nomination for Album of the Year, that's exciting. But man, we don't do it for that reason. We do it to make good music, to feed our families, and we do this out here so that we can tell people about Jesus and give them some hope. And people come to the concerts and you don't know where they are in their life. Everybody has a story. Some people are on the mountaintop, and some people are really struggling, man.
Yeah.
And you don't know where they are. And so, an encouraging word, an encouraging song, just a handshake. You never know what that means to somebody, but I know that God has me out here for a reason. It's been a tough year for us, really. It has, as far as the ministry goes. We've had some big walls we've had to jump, and financially, it's been a bit of a challenge this year. But as long as God wants us out here, and He shows us that He wants us out here, we're going to be out here.
Absolutely.
And so I'm encouraged, and there are people watching you today, man, that are going through tough stuff with the economy the way it is, and sickness, and I mean, there's just so much craziness in our world, but God is still God. And as long as He provides for our needs and helps us to stay out here, we're going to keep telling people about Him.
Absolutely. And Gordon, that's a great place for us to wrap things up. We're out of time. They're getting ready to open the doors for the audience to come in. So, man, it has been a huge pleasure to have you here on the show. It's been incredible. Been wanting to do this for a long, long time.
Thank you.
Just we need to hang out and get together sometime when on the rare occasion you're in town for more than 10 minutes.
I know, man.
So,
and it's tough because we do try to get home 2, 3, 4 times a year.
Yeah.
And Thanksgiving is always okay. That is a done deal. We're coming home for Thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
Last Thanksgiving, I was in Norway.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had just gotten home from the concert that we did in Norway when that fateful field goal was missed, and Chris Davis broke our hearts and returned it for the touchdown. But anyway, yeah, my Alabama roots run deep. And I'm so grateful that my parents are both still healthy and alive, and I'm going to see them here in just a few minutes.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Thank you for having me on your show, and God bless y'all, and roll Tide, go Gamecocks.
Well, Gordon, it's been incredible. Best of luck to you and your family. And do this. Play us out to the credits with that Grammy-nominated song. Let everybody hear some of that.
I wanna have faith like that. Let it be who I am. I wanna see the bigger picture and trust it's in God's hands. I wanna have faith. Yeah, I wanna have faith like that.